can help but notice when I was setting the camera up that this was not straight. I was like, that was kind of just weird looking at. I was like, just not lined up right. Well, we're into the Christmas season, amen? Merry Christmas almost, everyone. So a few announcements, whether you're joining us here in person or, of course, online, and we want to welcome you to our Advent season and welcome you to our service today. Last month, we did Thanksgiving offering. And all month long, we took up funds for the mission, for the work overseas, for the work internally, for those who have less than us. Last month, we raised $125 from New Hope. Great job, New Hope. Great job spreading forward love. Great job spreading forward our resources to the kingdom. Just great job. A few announcements coming up. We are planning December 22nd, Wednesday night, we're having brunch and a snowball fight. And I brought the snowball up here, and I was like, I'm going to throw this at the camera, but my luck, I would hit it and knock it off the pedestal and then have to go fix it. So I'm going to throw it at a guy. Join us for an inside snowball fight. Luckily, they don't melt. But other than that, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have brunch. We're going to have brunch at night. So 6 o'clock, we'll have breakfast. We'll have a snowball fight. Also, we're going to, I'm sure, do a Christmas light scavenger hunt. We're going to have all kind of fun events. We also will, I'm sure, have a Sunday school get-together in December. So mark your calendars, plan to join us. And today, we're starting a new series. So come be involved in our series as well. We're going to have some great times. So today, we're in a new series. And today, that series is going to begin in Luke 15. Luke chapter 15. Before we get there, I don't want to miss one more announcement. January 6th, the Millionaires will be here. We're going to have all kind of worship. We're going to have music. We're going to close our holiday season. I bet we'll still have hot cocoa and maybe apple cider. It's going to be fun. January 6th, plan on joining us. But today we're in Luke chapter 15. My question for you to begin our message: have you ever seen a house fire? Or a structure fire of some kind? You ever seen a fire? Right? I have. I have some experience here from time years ago when I worked with the fire department. And I'll tell a funny story. I remember one day I was cooking, as I love to do. I love to cook. And I was cooking at our house. It was when I was with the fire department as well. And I think I was making homemade fries. I was making them the old-fashioned way where you slice them and you toss them in flour and seasonings, and I had this huge pot of hot oil, and I was cooking the oil, and things were going great. We're making making fries. I turn my back and I hear whoosh. And now I know whoosh is not a good sound when you're cooking. And so I turn around and there is fire from my pot of fries all the way to the ceiling. It was like this beautiful bonfire in the middle of the kitchen. And of course, the kids were not real fond of the big fire behind me. And they're like, what do we do? And I'm like, calm down. Dad's firefighter. I know what to do here. And the whole time I'm thinking, what do I do? I don't want to get burned here. So, of course, I take a pot and I put the lid over it, and everything was good. But have you been at a house fire? Have you seen it? I had experience with how fast they go up. I remember there were some fires we would go on, and the answer was, we're not sending anybody in. We know nobody's in there, and they go so quick. Control the burn. Sometimes these things just take off, and we'll get back to that in a minute. I'm telling you this for a reason. It's a part of what the message is going to be on, not on house fires, but it has to do with it. We'll come back to that for a minute. But we're in, right now, the Christmas season. If I were to ask you, what's your favorite Christmas movie, Christmas show, Christmas story, Christmas play, there will be a lot of different answers, some modern, some old. Some may hit on my favorite, which is The Christmas Story. Not the Goofy movie, but I just lost my train of thought, Ebenezer Scrooge, A Christmas Carol is my favorite. the ghost of Christmas past, present, future. You have so much fun with this. And as I was preparing the message, I was looking at this idea of three gifts, and I was thinking of our nativity here and how the wise men brought three gifts. And I thought, what are three things God has given to us that'd be easy to talk about, easy gifts, easy to see? And I landed on mercy, grace, and peace. And so during this season, through the month of December, we're going to talk about God's mercy, we're going to talk about God's grace, and we're going to talk about the peace that He gives us. And going along with the Ebenezer Scrooge idea that we have mercy for our past, we have grace for our future, and we have peace with ourselves and with God right now. Amen? We could end the sermon there, call it a day, and head on out. That's a great little sentence to have. That we have mercy from our past, we have grace going forward, and we have peace in the right here and now. I love mercy. I love the word mercy. I love the definition mercy. I love the truth behind mercy. And mercy, if we were to bring it down to a real easy statement, it's we don't get what we deserve, right? Isn't that mercy? Isn't that the beauty of mercy, that we do not get what we deserve? So if I'm talking about house fires, going back to that, I'm going to talk about a dad. Now, luckily, I was a dad with French fries who put a top on the pot and slid it over and everything was good. But there were other stories, and I'll just tell you, I'm going to make up a story real quick so that I'm not giving away information. But let's say you're a dad or a mom, and you're at your house, and it's 2, 3 in the morning, you're asleep, and you kind of wake up to the smell of smoke, and you hear crackling. And it's not that wonderful smell of a fire on a bonfire or a fire from the fireplace. Those smell beautiful. But if you've ever been to a structure fire, they smell horrible. It's not the same smell. And so you've got this smell of plaster and paint and all this stuff burning. And you hear fire and you feel the heat. And you got 5 kids in your house. And so what would you do? You would pick up who you could pick up. You could, through your voice, tell them, follow me, and you would get out the house, right? House is on fire. Number one, get the family out of the house. So you did that as a parent. And you're out, and you turn around, and what you're going to do, you're going to take count, right? I'm going to see how many are here. And you notice one's missing. Through the smoke, you notice that you're missing one. Let's say you're there. What would you do? What is the gut instinct if you notice that 4 of my 5 are here, but my little 3-year-old, because it's Christmas season, I named her Cindy Lou Who. Let's say little Cindy Lou Who is not there. What are you going to do? We're going to run back in, right? Or we're going to look around, make sure she's not somewhere outside. We're going to go back in, and we're going to find that child, right? Which is what, in our story, the father did. We're going to run back in and find that one child. When I talk about Christmas, when I talk about Scripture, when we talk about Jesus coming, when we read our passage here in a minute, I want you to read it through the lens of a father going back in, because Jesus coming was a rescue mission. That's what was going on. When the Father sent His Son to the earth 2,000 years ago to Bethlehem, it was a rescue mission. He was going in after that one. He was going back into the fire to find the missing. This was a rescue mission. Last night, if you were here earlier today, then you got donuts and you got coffee and you got a great story about the parade last night. And the parade was a blast. It wasn't too hot. It wasn't too cold. It was fun. The bands were loud. Every emergency vehicle in the city of Cleveland was in this parade, blaring their sirens. It was a lot of fun. It was. And there were churches. There were banners. There were all kind of stuff. And one church was going through, and they had this great sign, and the sign said, "Born to die so that you may live." And I thought, that's catchy and that's fun, but that's bad theology. Because in truth, he came here to rescue. He came here to teach. He came here to show what love was. He came here for so much more than that. He came here for us. This was a rescue mission. First and foremost, Jesus came to rescue the lost, to get them out of the burning building, to get them out of the control of sin. He came to rescue us. So as we read Luke 15, I'll go ahead and tell you now, 1 through 7. As we read it through the lens of a parent in a house fire and you've got a missing kid. Because that is the story Jesus is telling here. So beginning Luke 15, verse 1. Now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near to him to listen to him. Both the Pharisees and the scribes began to grumble, saying, "This man receives sinners and eats with them." So he told them this parable, saying, "What man among you, if he has 100 sheep and lost one of them, does not leave the 99 in the open pasture and go after the one which is lost until he finds it? When he has found it, he lays it on his shoulders, rejoicing. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and his neighbors, saying to them, 'Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep that was lost.' I tell you that in the same way there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who need no repentance." That story always kind of resonated with me. It was a neat, fun parable. I liked it. I would talk about he goes after the lost one. He chases after the one sheep that ran away. He seeks the lost. He finds them. But when I think of it and the way they would have understood it, because they were shepherds, right? When it touches the heart, it doesn't touch my heart never owning a sheep, never shepherding. I've sometimes owned a cat, and I never could herd them right. I can't imagine what it's like to herd sheep. But as a father, it makes more sense. Which among you would not go back into the burning building if their child was in there? Right? And he's talking to a group of people who were saying, look at this guy who went into a smoky house only because he had a kid in there lost. And his answer is, which one among you would not go into a smoky house because his kid was in there? Of course you would. Of course you would pursue the lost one. Of course you would risk everything you've got to find that lost child. Mercy. Not getting what we deserved. Not getting what we earned. Mercy is that love overcoming everything else for you. So if you're taking notes, if we're writing a couple things down about God's mercy, what can we say about God's mercy that might make us feel good about where we stand with God? And we ever ask the question, where do I stand with God? Where do I stand with God? What's God's heart towards me? Is God sitting on the edge of a cloud, looking down, saying, waiting for you to make a mistake? I think there was a movie where one of the actors shouted out, "Smite me, thou mighty smiter," because that was his idea of God, that God was just waiting. So when it comes to mercy, what is God's attitude towards us? So the thing to write down is that God gives mercy to those who do not deserve mercy. Again, God gives mercy to those who do not deserve mercy. Verse 2. But the Pharisees and the scribes began to grumble. saying, "This man receives sinners and eats with them." I love highlighting and underlining passages in my Bible. I'd ask you to do it on that one. Underline it, star it, highlight it. A lot of places, if you go, you'll see scripture on the wall, like they'll hang a little plaque, they'll have something in their home, maybe at a restaurant. You see different sayings. You see beautiful sayings. You see sayings like, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you," right? We see those. At the parade, we saw all kinds. We saw John 3:16. We saw all these beautiful, beautiful passages. Don't overlook this one. This man receives sinners and eats with them. Wow. Talk about a passage that I would like to stencil on my wall. Is that those who don't deserve mercy get it. Those who have no reason whatsoever to be in the presence of God are permitted. Not just permitted, they're invited in. He opens the door and says, "You do not belong with me. Come on in. You don't have a place with me. Here's the best place at the table." He sits with those who don't deserve it. What an arrogant and condescending statement by the Pharisees. But these guys were perfect, so they thought. They were absolutely perfect, so their friends told them. They lived a perfect life, so the community around them declared. The Pharisees, as we've taught before, they took the law and then they expounded and created and added and did so much to it that even they couldn't live up to it. They made it so difficult and so big and so perfect that even they could not adhere to it. And nobody ever could in the first place. The point of the law was to show that we need Jesus. But they even added to it. They got so far out there. And then they made up so many little other rules that allowed them to be okay. And so what they would do is they would create so many little things and then they would follow those. And so if I made rules that said, to be right with God, you can't eat a boiled Brussels sprout. Okay, I'm good with it. I'm going to be fine with that one. Roasted with balsamic's okay, but boiled is not. I can do that, right? That's kind of what they did in a goofy way of saying. And they made it where if your wife puts too much salt on your food and you don't like it and she's getting on your nerves, you can just kick her out. Because too much salt is a sin. Is what they did. They came up with this kind of stuff so that they could be perfect. But mercy has to come from the one that is perfect. People who are making up their own rules can't give you mercy. But those who are adhering to the law, those who created the law, those who have power can. I looked at the definition for mercy because I wanted to make sure we knew what we were talking about. And the actual definition for mercy, according to Webster's, is it is compassion or forgiveness shown towards someone whom it is within one's power to punish or harm. I can't have mercy on my neighbor who's just living their life doing their thing. But if they come and chop down my rose bushes, I can show a mercy for that, right? Or if they come and set my car on fire, I could choose to show them mercy or not for that. Weird illustration there about the car, but I can't. But mercy is those who I have been legitimately wronged and it's in my power to punish, and I'm showing mercy. I'm being compassionate. I'm showing forgiveness towards. So on the ultimate biblical scale, it's not receiving from God what is due me for what I've done. The rebellion I've shown. The transgressions I've committed. Mercy is not receiving punishment for what I have done. These guys, these religious leaders, they were respected. They were cherished. They were, in essence, superstars. They were the Hollywood. The Pharisees were the Hollywood. Their names are almost whispered when they came in. You studied under Rabbi Camille. Ooh. That's how they were treated. They were superstars. They faked piety. But because of this, they would absolutely never risk diminishing their reputation by hanging out with someone who's dirty. They would never risk getting that on them by being around those who were imperfect. They would not associate with someone who was wrong, someone who had sinned. And so now they're talking about how Jesus is having a meal with these people. He is around these people. He's allowing these people in. How can he invite them in to learn from him? How can he invite them in to be taught by him? How can he care for these people? How can he basically put up a banner, all sinners welcome? How can he do that? The answer is mercy is given to those who don't deserve mercy. One of my favorite stories, as we talk about stories from the New Testament, one of my favorite ones involves the lady coming in with the oil to wash the feet of Jesus, and how she breaks this high-dollared oil and pours it on his feet and in essence anoints him as God and King and anoints him for burial. All these allusions, all these things involved in it. The part that I think is so amazing is that it talks about how she also, in essence, washed his feet with the tears she had and dried them with her hair, right? This is just absolute not caring what anybody else thinks. This is absolute welcoming in by the Savior. This is a moment of someone who didn't deserve to be in his presence, because truthfully none of us deserve to be in the presence of a holy God, going to him and experiencing his mercy. It was mercy that led her there. It was the knowledge that I'm free that led her there. It was great songs of redemption that we could see there. The moment when the weight of who I am is released because of the freedom of what he gives. The moment of understanding mercy. Songs like How Great Thou Art make sense because holy, beautiful, loving, just God gives mercy to those who don't deserve mercy. Couldn't we end there? One little verse, he sits with sinners and eats with them. Wouldn't that be enough to say, hey, everything is great now. My life just got easy. My weight just got light. He sits with sinners. But he also met with Nicodemus. He also met with the man who, in theory, wasn't a sinner. Now we know, because every one of us knows we have good days, bad days. We have days that my faith was strong, and we have days that temptation got me. We all have been there. We've all had those moments. I think Nicodemus did as well. But he also sat and met with and conversed with the religious. So even though he didn't do much with Pharisees, even though the Pharisees, those who should have understood, those who should have been leading people to him, those that most often he had conflict with, he met with Nicodemus. Why? He welcomes all seekers. Absolutely. Mercy is for those who don't deserve it. Nicodemus didn't deserve it any more than the lady with the perfume, any more than the lost sheep. Mercy is for those who don't deserve mercy. But the second thing I want you to know about God's mercy is not just simply that it's for those that don't deserve mercy. It is most often God-initiated. Again, it is most often God initiated. Verse 3, so he told this parable, saying, what man among you, if he has 100 sheep and has lost one of them, does not leave the 99 in the open pasture and go after the one who is lost until he finds it? This is a rescue mission. God became flesh to rescue us. God became flesh and dwelt among us to rescue us. I love this wording. He simply states, which one of you does not what? Does not what? Does not go out after the lost sheep. God's mercy is not here for you to come and claim. God's mercy is chasing you down. He sends it out for you. He didn't give up Jesus when enough people begged for Jesus. No, he sent Jesus. This is action on the part of the Father. This is action in the plan of God. This is action on the part of Jesus. God created this. God sent his mercy. If you go all the way back into, we could pick any one we want, but let's pick Passover. If we go all the way back, we see God sending these plagues, but then we see God initiating it and telling the Hebrews that here's what you need to do. One, keep your shoes on your feet so that when you have this meal, you eat it like you're ready to leave. It's got to be in a hurry. And what I want you to do is I want you to eat all this bitter herbs, and I want you to kill a spotless lamb and then put the blood on the doorstep. And then I'm going to send my angel who's going to take the life of the firstborn. But when he sees the blood you put on your door, he's going to pass over that. Right? God initiated all that. God said, I want you to do this, 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 and this. And when you do these things, when I send my angel out, he's going to go past you because you obeyed me, you followed me. But he initiated all that. And then he takes them out into the wilderness. And they're out there for a while. And they're grumbling and they're angry and they're unhappy. And he sends poisonous snakes to bite them. Right? He sends those snakes. But then he tells Moses, get bronze and do a bronze snake on a cross and carry that around, and all they got to do is look at it. All they got to do is just look up at what I'm sending forth, and it'll heal them. He initiated it. And then God said, we're going to have a sacrifice. If you sacrifice this spotless lamb every year, that lamb, that'll make you right with me. And really it's the faith and the grace of God. But God says, I'm going to give you something to do, right? I'm going to give you something. I'm going to initiate a way to always have you with me. And then God said, I'm going to be in your presence. I'm going to live in the ark and the tabernacle, and here's how you build it. And at the time of Noah, God said, build this boat just like this, and then I'm going to shut the door. God initiated. And then God left heaven and became a child in Bethlehem. God initiates mercy. God chases after the lost sheep. When these parables, Jesus tells several parables here. And when he talks about the prodigal son, it speaks of the father running to the son. All of these talk about God doing. God's mercy is an active, initiated by him on his behalf for us mercy. Which to the religious, to the churchgoer, to the faithful, to the non-faithful, to whoever you want to pick, find the beauty in the fact that what all this means is you don't have to be good enough and perfect enough before God gives you his mercy. God's mercy makes you good enough and makes you perfect enough. That's how it works. How many times do we try to get everything figured out first, rescuing ourselves, when God sent Jesus on a rescue mission? He did not require perfection first. Romans tells us that God demonstrated His great love for us by sending His Son to die for us while we were still sinners. While we were still lost, Jesus was sent for us. While we still did not know Him, Jesus was sent for us. I love that if you're online watching or you're here watching, I love that the requirement is not your perfection first. The requirement is Jesus' perfection first. But then He perfects you. Then He works in you. Then He sanctifies you. Then we get into grace and we get into all these other things that we'll get into next week. But that's the way it works. It starts with mercy. And it starts with Him rescuing us from what we deserve. Amen? I think of Peter as he got out of the boat, as we start to wrap up, and I promise we'll wrap up soon. I think of when he got out of the boat, right? He was walked on the water for a minute or two. He was having a great moment. He was really having a great faith moment. I've had great faith moments. Anybody else had great faith moments? Anybody ever get out of a boat and walk on water? No, right? I don't think I've ever done that. I've gotten out of a boat and I've swam in the water and I've fallen in the water and I accidentally threw my dad out of a boat one time. I'll tell you that story later. That was a fun one. I've had these kind of moments. But even in that, I did not see my father walk on water. None of us walked on water in those great moments. But he had a great moment. Yet, he still needed what? He still needed a rescuing. Because he was still flawed. He still had that moment of total faith followed by, look what I'm doing, followed by, look at the wind, followed by, I've sunk under the waves. He needed rescuing, and Jesus rescued him, because that's what mercy does. God initiated it to rescue us. And the final thing about mercy is that God alone, through His mercy, defines who we are. Is that God alone, through His mercy, defines who we are. It tells us that when the shepherd comes back to his home, he calls together all his friends and neighbors. He throws this big party saying, "Rejoice with me! Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep which was lost." I tell you that in the same way there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who need no repentance. A little thing to take note here, a little thing that I noticed when I was preparing this. He doesn't say the neighbors rejoiced. He says he called the neighbors. He said he in essence threw a big party. But then he just switches and says all the rejoicing is in heaven, right? And that speaks of God the Father rejoicing when a sinner comes to Christ. And I think something to take away from that is your friends and neighbors may not rejoice. The people who know you may not throw a big party. Those who he called to say rejoice may not rejoice. They may not see the new you. They may not recognize the new you, but they may not even enjoy or care about the new you. Mercy defines us. Mercy changes us. We are now identified in Christ. But it doesn't mean everything around you is going to be changed. You will be changed. And it doesn't mean that all those in your life are going to celebrate, though you will celebrate. Because mercy is individual. God does not give me what I deserve. God gives me Jesus Christ. There was a lady, and you guys will know this story. There was a lady, as we know, that was caught in adultery. We know this story, right? That she was caught in adultery, and they bring her forward to stone her. And we can ask questions like, where was the guy? But in reality, they bring her forward. They're trying to make a big scene here. They're trying to test Jesus. And so they bring her forward. They're getting ready to execute her, and they ask him about it, and they're like, should we execute her? They try to trap him to go against the law or to go with the law. And so he in his wisdom, used the answer, whichever one of you is absolutely perfect, let that one be the first one to throw the stone. And preachers love this story. I love this story. I love the fact that there was one who could have thrown a stone, right? Jesus could have picked up a rock and threw it because he was perfect. He was perfect within the law, but he didn't do it. And they all, in their guilt and their shame and their recognition that he beat them, they all slowly walk away. And then finally he asked her the question, where are all those who judge you? Where are those who judge you? And I'm sure she looked around and said, they are gone. And so then he said, well, then neither do I judge you. And he didn't leave it there, though. What did he say? He said, well, then now go and sin no more. Can you imagine that moment? Can you imagine that moment? Do you think she left changed? Do you think that maybe possibly she could stand up here and give a better testimony of what mercy is than I can? Or than maybe most of us can? Or maybe we need to put ourselves not in her shoes, but in our own shoes and say, what is that moment of mercy? What is that moment of mercy for me? And then I can be identified in Jesus, because he didn't leave her as, go, you adulterer. He didn't define her as that. He defined her through mercy. Go and sin no more. You're clean. You're washed. You're good. Now go from here. See, mercy is dependent solely on the one who is giving it. Mercy is not the least bit dependent on the receiver of it. It's not mine to earn. It's not mine to hang on to. It's not mine to measure up to, nor it is mine to keep from losing. Mercy is solely dependent on the only one who is justified to give it. And he says, where are those who accuse you? And the reason they left is because they don't have the authority to accuse you. The enemy loves to accuse you. I would say that's probably like his favorite thing. He loves to accuse us. He just doesn't have the authority to. And all of those who sit around and watch you and are jealous of you, or jealous of what happens in your life, or jealous of goodness God shows you, or trying to justify themselves by being better than you, all of those love to accuse you. They just don't have the authority to do so. And we ourselves, we love to see our failures, see our mistakes, see our weaknesses, see all the negative. We love to find ways to accuse ourselves. Only we don't have the authority to do so. Only one created you. Only one sets the standard of the law. Only one determines what is good and what is not good, and what is acceptable to himself and what is not acceptable to himself. Only one states whether you're justified or not justified. Only one can accuse you. And what does he say? Then neither do I. For mercy comes from the mercy giver. Mercy comes from the only one who is able to either punish or provide mercy. He goes on to tell the story as we close of the wicked servant, and we talk all about this story, how he forgave so much to the servant who then wouldn't forgive a little, and then that servant is punished. But I think let's stop at the servant moment. He forgave so much to that servant. And the point that he's making is mercy is so much, not based on the magnitude of the sin, but based on the magnitude of the giver. And it's not how dark and dirty, but how light and holy he is. And so that mercy is worth so much. So as I say Merry Christmas, as we talk about Christmas gifts, may the first, biggest, best one unwrapped is the gift of mercy. We have one King, and he brings a gift of mercy. Of all that I've ever done, of all that I ever will do, of all the ways I don't measure up, he says, I got you. because he came for this very purpose. Bethlehem 2,000 years ago was a rescue mission that culminated on the cross and then the resurrection of Christ. He came to rescue the lost, the sinner, the unworthy. Anybody ever here felt unworthy, felt lost, felt that I just will never measure up to God? No, you won't, which is why God measured you up on your behalf. Amen. Let's pray. Heavenly Father God, thank you for mercy. Thank you for Jesus Christ, the great rescuer. Thank you for this great mission of rescue that you sent your Son to take those who don't measure up and to measure up on their behalf. All we have to do is trust you, believe in you, accept what you give freely. As we're coming to Christmas and we wrap presents and we give presents and we open presents and we always ask, why do we do that? We do that because of the present you gave us, which is Jesus Christ. You gave us mercy. So on behalf of the undeserved, thank you so much, Father, for the great gift of mercy, the great gift of reconciliation, the great example of love. As we go forward from here, may we take your story, may we take your love, may we begin again in operating as those who have been given such a major, major gift. Those who have been given mercy. May we laugh, may we be joyous, may we bubble over with this free gift so that those that we run into may also experience your mercy. Let it define us, and may our activities be defined by a heart of gratitude and mercy. Thank you for loving us, and thank you for Jesus. Amen. We will see you Wednesday night. Do we have a theme? Soup. Come have soup Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Come hungry. We'll have great soup.